Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom.
which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Praise Yahweh. We are at the last day of our Feast of Tabernacles. As we know, it is a full week, and you understand why Yahweh ends with a Sabbath, because it is quite a lot that ends up going on within that week. But praise Yahweh, and we have to, consider that, one day all of Israel is going to keep this together at one time, and then will we really understand the purpose of the booths, because right now those things have been severely distorted among our people, that they think because we're making these booths that we're just going out into the wilderness. But when you see all of Israel, just like today they had a foosball game. So when they have a football game, everything is ain't no hotel rooms, ain't no nothing, and that's something that we haven't really considered. When all of Israel ends up making their pilgrimage to one place, it is going to be very, very difficult to find some place to stay, and you understand the purpose of those booths, to basically, and the whole purpose is to camp around the sanctuary, because all of the men have to make their appearance before Yah. So you're not going to go far out from that place. You're actually going to be right around that place. And we had a graphic within this week that was a perfect depiction of that, showing the temple and all of these little small booths that was all out in all of the area right along, right in front of it and all around it. But when we consider what this last day of Tabernacles is, we have that spiritual millennial kingdom with the Mashiach, a kingdom of peace, 1,000-year reign of Christ. And then we have this part when the adversary is freed, and then we have the forever that comes after that. And a lot of times we get all of those things kind of mixed into one. But that last part that comes after that week is truly a real Shabbat. After that, we won't have to seek all of those things, because those things will be right amongst us. But at that point, we have to there won't be any part of getting to do things in love and getting to do things and learning about forgiveness and all of that. We will have to have mastered all of those things to be in that forever part after even those who have missed, because we have the first resurrection and then the second resurrection. The first resurrection is that reign with the Mashiach, and then after that, the rest of the dead are awakened. So there are going to be people who completely miss the Mashiach being on earth. They're going to completely sleep through it, which is what death is. They're sleeping. It's not that thing that we've been told that somebody dies and somebody goes to heaven and somebody else goes to the lake of fire. Everybody receives judgment at the same time. So all of those wives' fables and all of those things that we've heard before, we have to be strong enough to allow ourselves to be deprogrammed and reprogrammed. And what's happening is we're being partially reprogrammed, because we're trying to keep some of that stuff that was in that old hard drive. And that stuff is causing us some problems, because as we start to get the new program, now we're mixing it with the old one. So now we get new information, but we're still trying to appropriate it in an old way. And our phones, our computers, they'll tell you in a minute, hey, you on the 32-bit program, but we done moved to 64-bit. So everything that you got over there, all of that's gonna have to be upgraded. None of that can be brought over. You said, but this is Microsoft Word. I'm gonna use Microsoft Word again. They say, yeah, but that's the old one. We can't use that one. That one ain't gonna fit here. You got to get rid of that one. You got to get the one that goes on this operating system. And we have to understand that when you come into this word, this is a totally different operating system. So all of that stuff that we keep trying to slide over, and I know it well because, hey, years ago I was entering into this word, and I thought the old man was harsh. I thought the old man was saying stuff, he just exaggerated. And then the more I got into it and started reading and allowing the spirit to move my heart and my brain in the same place. And that's what ends up happening when you see the quarrel inside of us. Your heart's in one place and your brain is somewhere. And until those two get together, you're going to always have an issue. Because that word going to say one thing, and you can accept that the word say one thing, and then your heart going to take it out of there. No, that ain't what that means. Why? Because your heart want to be somewhere else. And what normally causes us that issue is when we come in the word, we want all of our family to be in the word. And you have to be very, very careful with that, because that is what allows people that opportunity to make concessions in the word. If I find a easier place for my husband or my wife to deal with the word, maybe they'll deal with it. Yeah, but now you just got your whole family thrown in the lake of fire. Trying to find an easier way to deal with the word. There ain't no easy way to deal with righteousness. There ain't no easy way to deal with truth. The only way to deal with truth is to tell it. There ain't no easy way. There's a reason why it says those who overcome, they're going to get all of these things. Overcome means you got to go through something. If you don't go through nothing, you ain't overcame nothing. If you don't overcome something, you ain't worthy of a prize. You don't just show up at the race and get a trophy. Maybe that worked when you was in kindergarten and first grade. They give you those things for just showing up because they didn't want to hurt your feelings on field day. So they just gave you something. But the way this worked with Yahweh, you got to finish the race. Now, you ain't got to be first. It don't matter when you finish the race. But you got to finish the race. And you can't finish the race if you stop. If you stop, it's like you never started. Only the people who complete the race get the prize. So we have to endure. So we have to consider, what this whole thing means about making it to that last day. Even when it comes down to judgment, everything comes to its culmination in that last trump. You got to go through all of those other things. If you don't hold on to those last things and understand the things that we've read before, if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. So if we think we have something that would draw us off now, it's going to be worse later. Because they're going to have some really, really heavy things. I mean, beautiful. I mean, immaculate in deception waiting for us. Because if you can kill off the seed, you can kill off the nation. Who they want to kill off is Israel. Lucifer don't have to fight the whole world. All he got to fight is you. And if you don't really understand that, you worrying about all the rest of the world. No. All he needs to cut off is Israel. So the remnant got to keep walking, because it's the remnant that's going to make the rest of our people walk. But if you half walk, they going to half walk. If you half deal with the truth, they going to half deal with the truth. And you're going to have a whole line of people with blood on their hands coming right behind you. And you're going to have to answer for that. So these days, all of these things mean a great deal unto Yahweh. But we have to allow ourselves the opportunity to be chastised, and even um, made stronger through Yahweh. And if we don't allow that, then we are really cheating ourselves out of all the things that salvation is made for. Let's begin tonight in Psalm 19.
Psalms chapter 19 and verse 1. The heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night shows knowledge.
Now, check this out. It says the heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. You know, before we had all of these phones and tablets and all of these things, we used to sit down and just look up at the sky. We don't even look at Yahweh's handiwork anymore, because TV got our attention. It used to be a situation where there was one TV in the house. Now we have TVs in every room. And we hardly ever look at. There was a day I was coming home, and the sky looked so strange because the clouds were all in a line. I took a picture of it because I was driving. I could have got a ticket for that. So I took a picture. I took a couple pictures actually, and I sent them to Lael, and I said, "Look at this sky. Don't this seem odd?" And when she started looking, she was like, "Man, that does seem strange." All of the clouds looked like they were in single file line everywhere you look. And it was just rows and rows of clouds. And why they were directly lined up was the strangest thing I had ever seen. And then I had to consider, how long has it been since I even looked up at the sky? We used to beg our parents to let us stay in the driveway at night so we can lay on the top of the car and look up at the stars. I couldn't even tell you what any of those things mean anymore. I have to re-educate myself on the things that we used to know as children. Go ahead, bro.
But you know, even with those phones, if you use them appropriately, they can help you to still enjoy it. Because, you know, my wife with her phone, she'll look up, and she has an app where it'll actually tell you what the stars are that you're looking up.
I've seen her do that. I don't have that app.
You can have
it. Go ahead.
Verse 3. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them has he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. And there is nothing hid from the heat thereof.
Right. Everything then revolves around this great light. And when you consider our days and our years, all of these things go in accordance to this great light. Go ahead.
The law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yes, than much fine gold.
Do we consider that? That all of these things of Yahweh are more to be desired than gold, than fine gold? If they're more to be desired than gold, then you go at them in a different way. So when it's time to do the work and service of Yahweh, do you do it the same way you do the things when you're seeking after gold? See, when we're seeking after money, we show up early and stay late. when we're seeking after the things of Yahweh, do we do that? Do we show up early and leave late? Because when it's got something to do with some money, we're standing there when the place open. Because we need to get all the money. Well, the things of Yahweh are more important than those. If you understand your salvation and how precious it is. Go ahead, bro. Yeah. Now has got a lot of us, brother. Even people who are in the word, now has kind of overcome us. And it's a reason why, you know, it's written. You know, look at the lilies of the field, and you know, Yahweh has, you know, clothed these things. He's going to deal with those things, you know, but seek you first the things of the kingdom, and the rest of those things shall be added unto you. We go the opposite way. Go ahead.
Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is your servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward.
Right. It is the word, as we get into the word, that warns us from Yahweh, that ends up directing us. So when we have an issue, we don't run from the issue. The one thing you'll find out when you start dealing with people who have been trained in a lot of things, when you get to something that either is dangerous or can cause you harm, when you put that thing behind you, it has all the power over you. But when you put that thing in front of you and you deal with it, now you have power over it. And those are things that we have to consider. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Who can understand his errors? Cleanse you me from secret faults.
The faults are only secret. They're not secret to Yahweh. There ain't none of your faults that he don't know. The question is, have you dealt with those secret faults? And how do we deal with those things? Because there can be a situation where you don't deal with those things and then they come out some other kind of way. When you deal with those things, then you are the narrator of your story. When you look at these people who are running for office and all of these things, and then all of a sudden, and this is why I would never run, something come out that they did 20 years ago. And now they up testifying, going to find people from a 20-year-old stuff that happened at a party, and they can't even remember the songs that was, you know, a hit during that 20-year period. But you know, when you tell your story, you are the narrator. When other people have to tell your story, they get to tell it the way they want to tell it. And you have no idea how it's going to come out. Go ahead.
Keep back your servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Yahweh, my strength and my Redeemer.
All right, let's go to 1 John chapter 1. First John chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 5 through 10.
Verse 5. This then is the message which we have heard of him, and declare unto you, that Elohim is light, and in him is no darkness at all. If we say that we have fellowship with him, and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth.
So then if we're going to have fellowship with him, there are some things that we're going to have to clean up about our walk. And when you deal with He is light. Nothing stays hidden in the light. See, things stay hidden in the darkness. But the closer you come to the light, the more it's going to expose some things that are there. So we can either deal with them now or we can deal with them later. But the closer you get to the light, it's going to come out. Go ahead.
But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another. And the blood of Yahshua the Mashiach, his son, cleanse us from all sin.
Right. Go ahead.
If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us.
If we say we have no sin, we are definitely deceiving ourselves. You must have one of them funny mirrors at the house, where you can look 10 feet tall in the mirror. You can look slim no matter how round you are. You can look any old kind of way you want to look in that mirror. There's something wrong. We are then deceiving ourselves. Go ahead.
If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness.
Because then that is step number one. We have to first acknowledge that there is something there. And some things take longer than others. But if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and then to cleanse us from all unrighteousness, if we let him. You have to consider those things that the Mashiach asked people. I mean, he's there in the flesh before them, and he asks, do you believe I can do this? Well, you have to understand what a non-confession is. It's a little bit of disbelief. I really don't believe you can do this, because you have to consider something. When you get ready to deal with something, if you don't believe it's going to really be dealt with, you're more hesitant to pull that out. This is why some people go to the doctor and lie through their teeth. They say, tell me what's been happening with you. Nothing. That's why some people, you got to go to the doctor with them. You got to remind them of their ailments. See, because they catch selective amnesia when the doctor is standing there. Have you ever had, do you have a dry cough? Yes, doctor, yes, he does. What? Something wrong? Your knee look funny on this left side. Do you ever limp? No, not ever. Yes, he limps all the time. Yes, he does. Matter of fact, that's his cane over there. What? What? Right. So how they gonna deal with them issues that you pretending you don't have? So some people go back home with a clean bill of health, and it's a clean bill of a lie, because they ain't told not one symptom that they have really had. So because we don't confess that to that natural doctor, we don't get a prescription for that. We don't get a diagnosis for that, because we didn't say nothing about it. We act like it wasn't nothing wrong with it. Well, it's just going to go away on its own. Really? Some things get worse on their own. Did you finish that, brother?
Verse 10. If we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us.
So if we say that we have not sinned, we are not just a lie, but we then make him a liar, because we say spiritually his word must not be true. See, there are some things that we say subconsciously and inadvertently by our actions. See, we'll say, oh no, I didn't say that out of my mouth. No, your actions said that. No, I didn't say that. No, your actions said that. When Yahweh said, oh, get away from me, you worker of lawlessness, I never knew you. What them people said? No, we did all kind of works in your name. We fed the hungry. We did this. We did that. He said, man, I don't know you. What you mean you don't know me? I did all this stuff in your name. Imagine the confusion on those faces for people who believed that they were serving Yahweh, and the whole time they were serving themselves of Yahweh. That ain't how we want to end up. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and we're going to start there at verse 1.
Verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal.
So, if there is no love there, it is just an empty object that makes sound. A sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal, a cymbal is something that's in a band. It is just an instrument that makes noise. So if there is no love in you, you are just an instrument for sound. That means words come out of your mouth, but they don't mean anything. Ting, ting. There's some people when they talk, that's what you need to say. You know, look, ting, ting. They're like, no, man, I want to meet you with a ting, ting. No, I think we should go hang out. Ting, ting. Ain't no love there, that just sound. Go ahead.
And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor.
And this one right here get us. See, this is that thing, because we watch them do this in Christendom. So to a lot of people, this is their symbol that they have love. But they don't understand. Those Christians are getting government grants. They ain't paying for none of their food. And they out there giving people the food that perish. Yahshua already warned about the food that perish. He said some of y'all gather together because you came for the bread that perish. Y'all didn't come for the spiritual bread. So then because we saw those people and it looked like they were doing great works, then we still come with that old programming, and that comes before. The spiritual bread comes before the natural bread. Yahshua said, it's not meet for me to take the food of the saints and cast it to the dogs. The woman said, but isn't it true that the dogs eat from the crumbs that fall from the master's table? So Yahshua said straight up, no, I got to deal with Israel first. Everybody else get dealt with secondarily. But I'm going to get to y'all, but after I deal with Israel. Go ahead.
And though I give my body to be burnt, and have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up.
And this is one of those things, a lot of times, because we get our view of love from television, and everything is so nice on television. Oh my God. And you know, they always make up before the show go off. It is so beautiful. Oh my God, it is wonderful. That ain't real. Okay? Love suffers long. There might be some things that you're going to have to suffer for a while when you love somebody. It ain't going to get fixed right away. And how we setting our kids up, because they sit there and watch that make-believe Disney Channel. Everybody love everybody on Disney Channel. Then you got the fairy tale. There's the princess. There's all of these things. That stuff not real. So then here we go out in the real world with real people expecting fantasy things where no problems exist. And all the problems are all resolved before the end of the show. And to watch another problem, you need to watch another episode. And this is something that we all have to work with. Love, suffering, long. That's something that we all gonna have to work at. Because you have to consider, how much did Yahshua suffer for us? And none of us are worthy. Not one of us are worthy for a sinless individual dying for your sin. You ain't worthy of that. I ain't worthy of that. So we all already have a debt to pay to him, which ends up giving us a debt to pay to one another. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil, rejoices not in lawlessness, but rejoices in the truth.
And it takes sometimes a period before we can master all of these things, because we still have the upbringing of the daughter of Babylon in us. And the Babylon taught us some different things. And you have to look at that when it starts talking about love and how it used this love in a gender of a woman. Does not behave itself unseemly and seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil. When you're talking about us being raised in our culture and then learning this word from ground up, it gives us a better chance to be able to fight the ways of Babylon. But we still got the ways of Babylon in our house every day. Every time my kids turn on the TV, every time we turn on TV, Babylon is right there before you. So you're still learning her ways, because they teach her ways. They broadcast her ways. So we still have some things that we're going to have to always fight as long as we are in this place. There's a reason why it is called our punishment, that we're going to have to go through these things because we didn't serve Yahweh our Elohim in fullness. Go ahead.
You know, you're talking about the ways of Babylon, and that's one thing Babylon doesn't deal with is long suffering. Because the minute you step back from somebody for their foolishness, you ain't got no love in you. And there's a thing called tough love, and that's where that long suffering love comes in.
And you know, it's interesting in suffering long. Sometimes you have to step aside to, you know, I've said it, my elder used to say it all the time. Sometimes you got to fight with people just to save them. And sometimes you might be pushing to get somebody to a place that might take 1.5 years to get them to that place. But then you have to consider, how long did it take for you to come to this word? See, you know, people look at us, you know, situations, and they think they know what they're looking at. They look at my family and they say, man, you know, his whole family in the word. They don't see when I was in this word 3 years by myself. They didn't see that. They didn't see the possible divorce that was behind that, hey, I'm going to serve Yahweh, and this is what I'm going to do. If this is not what you're going to do, I understand. If I'd have known I was going to change religions, I wouldn't have, you know, brought you into this. I'm sorry. Boom. We going our own way. People don't see none of that. They think they know what they're looking at. Because when you come in here, you see folks working and you see them doing this and you see them doing that. Oh, it took a lot to get them folks right there. Now, are we willing to suffer all of that? Or will we make concessions in Yahweh's word so that we can make it more comfortable for our people to be with us? Because you never can tell. Remember now, Yahweh says, I leave, I'm going to leave these other nations among you to see if you're going to serve me or not. So it never does occur to us that Yahweh may be trying to expose your heart to you, to see if you're going to try to lighten his word to make it more comfortable for somebody else, or are you going to walk and say, Zion or die for me? And anybody going to walk with me, they can walk. Anybody ain't going to walk with me, hey, he took everything from Job and gave it back. You got to believe everything I lose, he going to give me back. He says those who have lost houses, wives, children, how they lose all of that stuff? In the word. Some of them people didn't want to have nothing to do with them. Are we willing to make that? Are we willing to make that commitment? Do you trust Yahweh enough to believe that he gonna give it back? Or you looking at what my brother said right now? It look like I'm about to lose something right now. And it's hard to do that. I ain't telling you it's easy. It is very difficult to do that. You're gonna cry sometime. If you don't, something wrong with you. But that's why Yahweh has put together the family that he has put together. And sometimes we're going to have to lean on each other. But not if we keep all our secret false secret. How you know who to lean on and when? Go ahead, bro.
Verse 7. Beareth all things, believe all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things.
That Sunday morning doctrine that we learned, that was childish. You see, some of us still want to be, just like we see, our kids now. They want to be grown and babies at the same time. Well, some of us do the same thing. We want to come in here and get one word, but we're going to keep that childish doctrine that we learn on Sunday morning. And then we want to mix a little bit of it in, just stir that in now. You know how you trick the children? You like, eat these peas. The kid like, nah. All right, well, throw some of them sweet carrots in there and stir it up in there. And you trick them, you know what I'm saying? Give them the sweet carrots and then switch the spoon and throw them peas back in there. And the kids sitting there like, some of them, I've been fooled, huh? You know what I'm saying? That first thing was sweet, and then y'all gave me this little nasty stuff. Right. We're doing the same thing. Because we'll take that childish doctrine and mix it right in with Yahweh's word and don't understand what kind of travesty we making against Yahweh. See, he gonna let you slide with that stuff for a little bit. But understand, the more you grow, the more he grows in how he deals with you. So that same stuff you get away with in year 1, in year 2, he gonna start spanking your tail for doing that same stuff. And people thrown off. Well, I did this last year. Why are you whooping me this year? Right. Congratulations, you're a year older. You don't whoop a newborn, do you? But when your kid 8 and he put a duty in his pants, time for him to get beaten. Simple as that, because that's not poo-poo. That's doo-doo. You know what I'm saying? That's something totally different. Okay? That's not cute no more. It's cute when you change a baby diaper. Oh, look at that baby. It's that little poo-poo. Yes, that is. Oh, look, it's so cute. When they get 8, oh, man, that stuff got substance. It stank. The whole room, you come in the room after, you be like, oh, my God, what just happened in here? Right. It ain't cute no more. Same way Yahweh gonna deal with you. Oh, that little stuff I let you get away with before? Oh, it ain't cute no more. Because you're supposed to know better. Go ahead.
For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I now know. And how abideth faith, hope, love, these 3, but the greatest of these is love.
The greatest of these is love, and we cannot have that one understanding of love that we have received in times past. We have to understand that love encompasses a lot of things, which also encompasses those commandments that we're going to make our best attempt to keep the commandments toward one another. So it's not just that little mushy part of what we see. It is also the keeping of Yahweh's commandments, which entitles that some things are going to have to happen for us to walk in love with one another. Sometimes in walking in love with one another, there's quarrels and confrontation. What are you having quarrels for? So we can walk in love. What do you mean you quarreling so you can love? Right. So that we can keep the commandments with one another. We have to have a quarrel right here within this issue so that we can repair our walk and keep on walking within these commandments. Because ain't no love walking outside of the commandments. And if your love don't include that, you're going to have some issues. So you got to back up. You might have to quarrel a little bit, fix that part, and then we can keep on walking. Otherwise, it's an empty walk. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4. First Peter chapter 4, and we're going to read verses 3 through 19.
Verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you.
Right. They speak evil of you because you don't go to the things that you used to go to. They believe that now you must be in some kind of cult. We used to do all of these things before. Why you ain't doing it now? You didn't have no problem with the ribs and a little ham hock before. You grew up on them hocks. Why you want to be hockless now? Yeah, they think something wrong with you. Are you strong enough to let people go ahead and believe that there's something wrong with you? Are you strong enough to suffer for Yahweh's word? See, suffering because you did something is not honorable unto Yahweh. You did it. It's not honorable. What's honorable unto Yahweh, according to what's written, is when you suffer when you've done right. Suffering when you've done wrong, you can't go up and go and tell Yahweh, look at what I've done. Yeah, I know. And you did the first part. That's why you having to do the second part. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Now, come to me when you suffering and it ain't got nothing to do with you. Now you standing in a good place with Yahweh. And that might mean suffering for somebody else. Go ahead.
Who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead? For this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to Elohim in the spirit.
Right. Everybody that Yahweh leads you to talk to is not going to hear the word. Some are just there to receive judgment. And he don't tell you which is which. So you have to learn how to operate within the instructions that Yahweh give you. My elder used to say all the time, just do what you're told. Stop trying to worry about all the other stuff. Just do what you're told. Speak the word. Don't try to figure out what, this is it. This person might do that. You don't know if somebody may get their baptism, they may come in, they may walk for a year and a half, 2 years. And 1 week, you never see them no more. And you think, man, they falling off. No, they went where they were supposed to go. They came and heard just enough word for judgment. And I know that was hard for me to reconcile in my brain when I first got in the word. That some people have only heard the word so that they can get righteous judgment. They ain't going to serve Yahweh. They're going to serve themselves of Yahweh. And what hurts you, sometimes it's the nicest individuals. but we don't get to choose why Yahweh is doing something. Because at that point, now we were replying against our maker. Why have you made me so? No. That's not the conversation you want to have. The same one that made light made darkness. So that means if there's good, there got to be evil. We just need to pray and walk so that we ain't on that other side. Because see, the tares help make the wheat stronger. Iron sharpen iron. One way or another, some situations and circumstances have to produce themselves from within us in the same room that's going to make us stronger. So if you think we're going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya for, all day and night, you got another thing coming. Because them people not going to be ready to fight Lucifer. Because they've been talking peace talk all this time. They ain't got ready for no war. And we got a war coming to us. Go ahead.
But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins.
And if you have fervent love, this is a love that does not stop. This is unceasing love. See, a lot of people can love you when they're getting something from you. They can love you when everything is going good. But can we love one another when things are still, when they're not so good? I have to remind people that, when you got in that water, there was a covenant that we made. What we did was reestablish the wedding vows that our people end up saying. All those things you have said, Yahweh, we will do. Go ahead.
Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim.
Use hospitality to one another without grudging. Is it a grudging thing for you to just tell somebody shalom? Then you got a spot in your armor. Something ain't right there. Because even if we don't want to deal with each other, we still ought to be able to be cordial to anybody. I'm cordial to my enemies at work. They're rednecks that would probably hunt me if they saw me in the wood.
Mm-hmm.
I still sip. How you doing, Bob? Hi, Israel. How are you today, brother? Hey, and we going about our business. But I ain't going to be hanging around no trees when he got that shotgun in his hand. But we're not friends. But I can be cordial and we can talk. And there is no ill will there. I understand. Matter of fact, I like the rednecks who let you know they rednecks better than the ones who be faking all day anyway. I get along with them better. I like them. And you know what's crazy? They like me. The biggest redneck. Have you seen Israel? I wanted to sit there and rap to him for a while. Rednecks come looking for me. They like truth, and I like that they like truth. It's the ones that come up and rubbing your shoulder, talking about, hey, buddy. Them the ones I got a problem with. The ones I got a problem with right there. Right there. They be like they massaging your shoulder. Hey, buddy, what you doing? No, man. No, see, we're going to have a problem. We're going to have problems. First of all, I need you to put your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Stop rubbing my shoulder, man. I don't need no massage, bro. It's the middle of the day. Come on, bro. Come on now. See, there's a problem there. See? But truth recognizes truth. That don't mean it's always pretty. But I respect that they honest about themselves, and I'm going to be honest about me, and we get along better. I've had rednecks ask me, man, come on, man, go hunting with us. I said, bro, come on, man. Come on, man. This me you talking to. Come on, bro. You want me to go out in the woods? with you and your other redneck friend. I said, man, come on, man. Tupac, we're not going to let that what they call me, Tupac. Tupac, we're not going to let anything happen to you. I said, you know the problem with that? You are only in control of your shotgun. You know what I'm saying? So how you feel about me is one thing. That dude on the hill in them bushes right there, you're not in control of his shotgun. You see? So I know how far to let that go. But we still cordial. And no matter how many times they invite me hunting, I ain't never gonna go. But we gonna be cordial and we gonna talk every time I see him. Go ahead.
Verse 11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you.
And that's what ends up happening to us. That we think the fiery trial is something strange, and the trial is according to your growth. You know, in the beginning, I had some trials and I made it through, and I was like, oh man, you know, that was pretty easy. Stupidity. I thought it was going to stay that easy, but then I grew in the word, and so did the trials. I wasn't exactly ready for that right away. But Yahweh holds back things, understanding, all right, these particular things you can't deal with yet. Okay, now these things you can deal with. So when you start looking at those fiery trials, it is according to the strength level that you are on. You can handle this now. You couldn't handle that before. It's time. Go ahead.
But rejoice, inasmuch as you are partakers of the Mashiach's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy.
So now you get to partake in the sufferings of the Mashiach without having to offer your body up to be tortured. See, we offer up spiritual sacrifices, not natural ones. So we don't have to go and find a goat, and we ain't got to do like them folks be doing in them other countries, and they just go through their little rituals and walk down the street and whoop themselves and let blood come all out of their back. We don't have to do that. But our sacrifices are spiritual in nature. So some of the things that we undergo, some of the trials and the problems that we end up encountering, those are your spiritual sacrifices. You just didn't get to choose what thing was going to be there. Yahweh chose it for you. Here's your next sacrifice. And when you get through with that one, I got one over here. Okay, that one's going to be a big one, so I'm going to give you a break for a little while. But after that, then you're going to go over here and do another sacrifice. Go ahead.
If you be reproached for the name of Yahshua, happy are you.
Right. These are spiritual treasures. This is treasure stored up in heaven. Every time you suffer for the Mashiach, you need to say, ching, ching. Every time you go to work and somebody starts, oh, they such and such. Oh, yeah, they supposed to be one of them worshipers of Yahweh. Ching, ching. My bank account getting bigger, baby. Keep it coming. Every time your family got something slick to say about you, you think you this. Well, I know what I am according to this book. Ching, ching. My account keep getting bigger. He said, but you broke. No, I'm rich. I'm rich. And you helping my account keep running off at the mouth. And if we looked at it like that in a lot of those cases, a lot of those things, we wouldn't be so bad. But it's hard to remind yourself that when you looking at a donkey run off at the mouth to you. And I clean that up a little bit. Go ahead, bro.
For the spirit of glory and of Elohim resteth upon you. On their part, he's evil spoken of, but on your part, he is glorified.
Right. So they evil speak. And what's interesting is the whole time, a lot of times people are saying how much they love the Lord and then speak evil of him at the same time, not understanding what they're doing. Go ahead.
But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed.
And understand, a Christian is a follower of Christ. So let none of you suffer as a murderer. You have to look at certain things here and see how far this goes. A murderer, a thief, a evildoer, and then it puts that in the same sentence as a busybody in other men's matter. Now that's pretty heavy. And there's some folk that can't wait to get in somebody else's business. And they don't equate that to, you know, you're gonna end up in the same place with the murderers, right? What? I'm just a little nosy, that's all. Right. Go ahead, bro.
But let him glorify Elohim on this behalf. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of Elohim.
So judgment starts at the house of Elohim. So sometimes you got people sitting here believing, oh man, I got this issue, I got that issue. Understand something. Yahweh clean his house first. Then he go to the street. So what we don't understand is Yahweh is trying to clean us up. So there's some things that he gonna pull out, deal with, and those supposed to start at his house. But you have that thing that messes with us because we look up and we say, well, we in the church and we going through issues. Man, I had less issues when I was out in the world. They don't understand judgment start at his house. When Yahweh get through with us, get ready, because then he going to them. And that ain't going to be pretty. And they don't know what's happening to them. They don't know why it's happening to them. They don't know who they are. He's got to start from scratch to even explain to them that they are Israel. And even when you explain that to us, we ain't trying to hear it. So it's going to take a lot to get their attention. That Jake. See, Jacob is Israel. Okay? That's us. Outside that door is Jake. Okay? There's a difference between Jacob and Jake. Jake, you got to slam him upside the concrete several times for him to even understand, oh, you must be serious. Jake, how many times I got to street for you to figure out I'm serious? We can't operate like Jake. You can't be Jacob and then operate like Jake. That ain't gonna work. Go ahead.
And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Elohim?
Right. So you can't believe or end up going through these things where Yahweh begins to straighten our house out, and then all of a sudden we think, man, we'd be better off if we just stayed off in the street. No, that was just ignorant bliss. See, there's always bliss when you're ignorant to what's going on. You have ignorant bliss. That you don't know you about to fall into the lake of fire, but you still keep playing right around it. That's just ignorant bliss. That's all that is. It don't stop you from falling in the lake of fire. It's just a sudden thing when you realize, oh my goodness, I'm in the lake of fire. It's hot in here. It was just ignorant bliss. It didn't change anything. You just didn't know it until you ended up in it. And the way Yahweh, this is why we have these things that we go through on these holy days. When you talk about entering the Passover season and unleavened bread, and you see what he does, and we have to go through these same rituals every year to clean our house. You take all of this stuff out of the cabinet, and people say, you know, there's a difference between straightening up and cleaning up. You can straighten up in 10 minutes. Cleaning up gonna take all day. There's some people ain't never clean. They ain't never clean. They've been straightening all their life. So the stuff look a certain way, okay? But it ain't really clean. Because see, when you go in them cupboards in that cabinet, and you start picking up pill bottles, you trying to figure out, why is the jelly under my Advil? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got all kind of stuff in there. That stuff might have looked straight when you looked at it, but you got all kind of nasty stuff in there. So Yahweh takes us through this ritual every year. All right, go in there and clean those cabinets out. But to actually clean, your house look a mess. Because you got to pull all that stuff out and put it on the table. Pull all that stuff out, put it on the table. And people come in your house at that point and be like, good God Almighty, you nasty. No, I'm in the process of getting clean. And people who straighten up, they don't understand that. Because you got to pull all that stuff out of that cabinet. Then clean that cabinet. Then wipe off all of that stuff. Then put it back in the places where it belongs. And guess what happened after you do that? Now you find all kind of stuff. Some stuff you find 2 or 3 of. Thought we didn't have no ketchup. 3 ketchups in here. Thought we had no cinnamon. We got 16 cinnamons. Every time you lost one, you bought another one. Then you lost another cinnamon, you bought another cinnamon. And you trying to figure out, what can we make with cinnamon? Because we got 16 of them. Right. How you find that? See, there's some things that you're going to have not enough of, and some things you're going to have too much of. But you don't find that out until you pull all that stuff out and put it on the table. And it ain't never pretty to pull everything out and put it on the table. But that's the only way it's going to get right. Pretending that jelly ain't at the bottom of that Advil bottle ain't going to help you. Then what's going to happen the next time you have a headache? You end up with sticky fingers. Go ahead.
And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of Elohim commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful Creator.
All right, let's go to our 2 Corinthians chapter 2. Second Corinthians chapter 2. And we're going to read verses 1 through 11.
But I determined this with myself, that I would not come again to you in heaviness. For if I make you sorry, who is he then that makes me glad, but the same which is made sorry by me? And I wrote this same unto you, lest when I came, I should have sorrow from them of whom I ought to rejoice, having confidence in you all, that my joy is the joy of you all. For out of much affliction and anguish of heart, I wrote unto you with many tears, not that you should be grieved, but that you might know the love which I have more abundantly unto you. But if any have caused grief, he has not grieved me, but in part, that I may not overcharge you all. Sufficient to such a man is this punishment, which was inflicted of many, so that contrariwise you ought rather to forgive him and comfort him, lest perhaps such a one should be swallowed up with overmuch sorrow.
Right, and it's hard sometimes to to put that into place, but what we have to do is to make sure that we don't overwhelm someone with sorrow. Go ahead.
Wherefore I beseech you that you would confirm your love toward him. For to this end also did I write, that I might know the proof of you, whether you be obedient in all things. To whom you forgive anything, I forgive also. For if I forgave anything, to whom I forgave it, for your sakes forgive it I, it in the person of the Mashiach.
Do we, you have to consider just how powerful that is. To whom you forgive anything, I forgive also. That's kind of heavy. So then we have a power and ability to be able to help save each other. Go ahead.
Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices.
Right. So as soon as Lucifer detect a problem, here he come And then he plant more thoughts in your head. You know, they're looking at you. You know, they're talking about you over there. All them people over there, they're giggling. They're talking about you. As soon as he get an opportunity, he throwing things at you. Once he gets that opportunity, once he get in, Lucifer's like a vampire. It's hard to get them vampires out your house when you let them in. But you know, they don't break in. That's the thing you have to figure out. He ain't break in. He ain't break in. He done psyched somebody out and got him to open that door. Go ahead.
That was it.
That was it. Let's go to Matthew. No, let's go to chapter 12 first. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
Verse 1. It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to glory. I will come to visions and revelations of the Adonai. I knew a man in the Mashiach about 14 years ago. Whether in the body, I cannot tell, or whether out of the body, I cannot tell. Elohim knows. Such an one caught up to the third heaven. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. Elohim knows. How that he was caught up into paradise, and heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such an one will I glory, yet of myself I will not glory, but in mine infirmities.
Why? Because in those infirmities, I'm getting something on my account. Go ahead.
For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he sees me to be, or that he hears of me. And lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure.
Right. So even though this brother could heal all of these people, they could take portions of things from his clothing and take them to places and people would get healed. He couldn't take away that thorn in his own side. So he always say, so I'm going to level you off with this thing right here. Least you go and puff yourself up because of all the things that you have been allowed to do. Go ahead.
For this thing I besought the Adonai 3 times, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
So if you don't ever get to the point where you're weak, you ain't never going to get to that point where you have the perfect strength of Yahshua. Because wherever it is where you can handle it on your own, he said, well, you don't need me. Oh, you got it? Oh, well, you don't need me. Let me go sit down. Oh, you got this too? All right, well, let me go sit down. See, there's a point where we have to get out and confess, all right, I need you. I can't do this. All right, then. Okay, well, let me come on in here then. Finally, you need me. Now you need me. I've been waiting for you to need me. Go ahead.
Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in mine infirmities, that the power of the Mashiach may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distress for the Mashiach's sake. For then I am weak. For when I am weak, then am I strong.
When I am weak, then that's when I'm strong, because now I got the strength of the Mashiach. Now I got strength that I really don't have. But I got to confess my weakness. I got to embrace that thing and deal with it. I am weak in this. I need you. Are you strong enough to be weak? Because it takes a strong person to be weak. That might be confusing to a little. to a few people. You got to be strong enough to be weak. Because, see, we got that image that we like to present to people, that everything is together, that we got everything together, everything sewed up nicely. So we can't be weak enough for us to need Yahshua. But are you strong enough to be weak? Go ahead. That was it. Let's go to Matthew chapter 22. Matthew chapter 22, and we're going to start at, we're going to read verses 23 through 40. Matthew chapter 22, and verses 23 through 40.
The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moshe said, if a man die, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother.
Right. So because there's an issue about this resurrection, he's then using the biblical instruction for marriage to try and disprove resurrection. But you see that this is then a culture amongst our people, and they don't walk against it, and Yahshua don't speak against it. But how would we deal with anybody who did this? Go ahead.
Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also.
Now, what kind of things would we have to say about a woman who married 7 brothers?
She just going through the whole family. I wonder if she been with the granddaddy. Good God Almighty. She's all through there. Oh my God. Scandalous.
Right. She doing exactly what she supposed to be doing. But are you strong enough to follow the word of Yahweh regardless as to what people think about it? Go ahead.
Therefore in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Yahshua answered and said unto them, You do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Elohim in heaven.
So when they are awakened, those that get to, you have to understand in that first resurrection, you're going to have those that live through that resurrection who are there, and then you're going to have those who are awakened. The ones that awaken got different bodies. You don't have that. If you just live through that. The ones that are awakened, those husband and wife going to be brother and sister. So, and we watch movies all the time. What do you think they get the stuff where they had the kingdoms where there's mortals and immortals right there together? What do you think they get it from? They got it from your legacy. Go ahead.
But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Esaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Elohim is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together.
All right, and all of these are different groups within Israel, different cliques. You have to be careful about entering into some kind of clique within Israel. Because see, first, people join together to hang out. Then they start talking doctrine. And you find the people who agree with the same doctrine start hanging out together. Before you know it, they got a Bible clique. Then when you look at the same misunderstandings, they within the same group. Interesting how that happened. Right. Sadducees, Pharisees, same thing. Watch Israel. We'll do the same thing to this day. Start clicking up. Then we start reading together, and the same wrong stuff starts being passed around amongst each other. Right? Go ahead.
Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yahshua said unto him, You shall love the Adonai your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Right. And it will take considerable understanding of the law and the prophets to understand how to adequately love one another. It is not as simple as we hear this word thrown around. Let's go to Matthew chapter 21. And we're going to read verses 28 through 32.
Matthew chapter 21 and verse 28. But what think you? A certain man had 2 sons. And he came to the first and said, Son, go work today in my vineyard. And he answered and said, I will not. But afterward he repented and went.
Right. So there's a little bit of indignation already from the first son because he didn't want to go to the vineyard. But the difference is he repented. But this may end up being a more, this situation here looks more tumultuous than any of the others because he answered and said, I will not. So, who is this son that's going to talk back to his father? And that's what we do when we receive instructions. Yahweh send us to somewhere and we say, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Or I'm going to do something else. Right? We're just being disobedient. But here, it looks like this one is more disobedient because he's automatically going against the father. No, I'm not going to go. But then he repented and went. Go ahead.
And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I go, sir.
Right. Now this one seems smoother because he said exactly what the father wanted to hear. Read again.
And went not.
Right. But he didn't go. So we have this balance between the harsh truth or the smooth lie. I go, sir. You get to the vineyard. What a little raggedy boy of mine. He didn't come here. He told me he was coming. But there was no altercation there. Looked like it was smooth, right? But the one that looked like an altercation was the one done in righteousness. Everything ain't always as it seems or as it appears to be. Go ahead.
The thought just came of, was this the beginning of Lucifer telling lies?
Well, you have to deal with this parable or this constant thing of these 2 sons is all throughout this book. So this is the beginning, this is the ending, this is the same thing you find constantly throughout this book, that Yahweh is putting forth this thing about these 2 sons. And if they 2 sons, then they 2 brothers. When you deal with the angels, what it say? Those are sons of Elohim. Right. So when you read about the altercation between when the spirit of Israel came and dwelt in that body of Yahshua, automatically the adversary is there. You have to ask yourself, he was 30 years old. Why didn't the devil mess with him them other 29 years? That ain't my brother. Now, once that spirit got in there, okay, now I'm finna go wrestle with my brother. Because that other thing was just, it was the body that was going to hold that spirit. He didn't want to wrestle with the flesh. He wanted to wrestle with that spirit. because he know now that spirit is in a fleshly body that it ain't never been in. So let's see if you know the limitations of this flesh. Now I'm going to wrestle with my brother. Same things we read all the way throughout this book. Even when you deal with the covenants. The covenants, they said it's an allegory. It is another thing of dealing with these two brothers, these two sons. And it's constant. One has one spirit, the other has a totally different spirit. In the same family. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say too, you have the situations where in the different stories of the sons throughout the Bible, you have one that actually considers their actions.
Right.
And the other doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And continue in the evil.
But it ain't always as it seems. And when you look at it, people hide the evil, and then you have this situation where this looks ugly because he automatically says, "No, I ain't going." Then he considers, "All right, I did evil. You know what? I repent." So, what would you rather have? Somebody just look you in the face and tell you whatever it is you want to hear, or somebody to tell you the ugly truth and then repent? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 31. Whether of them two did the will of his father.
Which of them did the will of his father? Go ahead.
They say unto him, the first. Yahshua says unto them, verily, I say unto you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of Elohim before you.
Right. So then he says, okay, the first did the will of his father, even though that was a tumultuous situation, but because it then presented the opportunity of repentance, the publicans and harlots are going to go into the kingdom before you. But wait a minute. Publicans and harlots, don't nobody like them. Yeah, but they repent. Go ahead.
For Yohanan came unto you in the way of righteousness, and you believed him not, but the publicans and the harlots believed him.
Mm-hmm.
And you, when you have seen it, repented not afterward, that you might believe him.
Right. See? And when you had seen it, repented not afterward. So then even afterward, you had an opportunity to consider your actions and still didn't do it. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 18. Proverbs chapter 18, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Through desire, a man, having separated himself, seeks and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool has no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. When the wicked comes, then comes also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment.
Mm-hmm.
A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calls for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. The words of a talebearer are his wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. The name of Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous runs into it and is safe. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as an high wall his own, and as an high wall in his own conceit. Before destruction the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility.
Before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty. So this haughty heart and spirit goes right before destruction and leads right into destruction. But where there's honor, there is then humility. Go ahead.
He that answers a matter before he hears it, it is folly and shame unto him.
Right. And if you've only heard one side of it, you have not heard that matter. Go ahead.
The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? The heart of the prudent gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. A man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men.
Right. A man's gift, these are the things that he has the ability to do. So the things that you have the ability to do makes room for you and brings you before great men. But there's something that we have to also understand. Same thing, make you laugh, make you cry. So for that same reason that men will invite you, be the same thing that they'll try to kill you with. Trust me, I know. People say, oh man, you can do such and such. Come and do this. Next thing you know, them same people sitting in the back alley trying to do something to you. Wait a minute. I thought y'all was happy about my gift. We happy about it as long as we can completely control it. Go ahead.
He that is first in his own cause seems just, but his neighbor comes and searches him. The lot causes contentions to cease, and parts between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso finds a wife finds a good thing, and obtains favor of Yahweh. The poor uses entreaties, but the rich answers roughly. A man that has friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother.
All right, Israel, that's all that we're going to do for tonight. Enjoy your feast. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.